view is that of something far more than a place on the map. It is of a home and a homeland. Life here has neither beginning nor end. As a tribal elder may tell you, the Coeur d'Alene tribe is here because this is where the Creator put us. We have always been here. We will always be here. We are the Stichonch, the discovered people, or, very simply, those who are found here.
All those values that we hand down through oral history has to be understood, and it's our responsibility to make those people, to make our children understand that. Why am I Indian? What is an Indian? Who is an Indian? You're an Indian, and this is why you're an Indian. It isn't because of the color of your skin. It's here. It's in your spruce.
The Coeur d'Alene tribe evolves and survives, with an ancient culture striding hand in hand with modern technology and life. People earn their livings differently than their ancestors did because they use different tools, but progress here remains a constant. The computer age and the technology it brings are, you might say, just arrows in the quiver.
Tribal leadership has the responsibility to, especially our constituency, to educate the rest of America as to who the tribes are. In order for us to survive, to do what we want to do, to meet the economics, to create employment, to meet our social needs, America has to be aware of who the tribes are.
Chair, entertain the motion.
This and all tribes exist as governments, sovereign by historical origin, sovereign under the Constitution of the United States. This government operates 17 departments, all subject to review by executive, legislative, and judicial branches.
Treaties, executive orders refer to Indian tribes as sovereigns. It's very plain to tribal leaders across the nation what sovereignty is and why Indian tribes are sovereign.
The Coeur d'Alene Reservation covers 345,000 acres, a small remnant of a homeland that once extended over almost 5 million acres in the Palouse and northern Rocky Mountains of the inland Northwest. A peace treaty ended warfare with the United States in 1858. President Grant's executive order of 1873 established an original reservation of about 750,000 acres. A series of agreements with the federal government reduced the reservation to its current size by 1890. Tribal sovereignty, similar to that of states, comes with broad responsibilities and jurisdictions within the boundaries of the reservation. This means that tribal government maintains working relationships with local municipalities, state government, and the federal government. Here, it also means a close relationship with non-Indians who live and work on the reservation.
The concept of Indians by most of America is what they've gleaned from the movies, what they've seen on TV, what they've read in the history books. And we all know what's written in the history books, and it isn't too factual. We know what we've seen on TV, and in the movies, and they're fiction. So it's very, very difficult to, I guess we find ourselves having to educate America on who tribes are.
The tribe's responsibilities include economic development. The loss of tribal lands came nearly a century past as the federal government broke a promise and opened this and many reservations to non-Indian settlement. The loss of its land base and the natural resources that came with it threw the Coeur d'Alene tribe into abject poverty. But in 1972, Congress passed President Richard Nixon's Indian Self-Determination and Education Assistance Act. Following that, President Ford signed Public Law 638, allowing tribes to further control and operate their own programs. With such changes, this and many tribes could finally begin a slow emergence toward economic recovery and self-sufficiency.
I think that utilizing our expertise, and I think that by fighting smart, playing smart, utilizing everyone that we have and setting our goals and attaining those goals and working hard, we can reach those goals, and it's very satisfactory when we do. But you know, you don't get anything without sweating a little bit, so Indian country has to work hard.
As the Coeur d'Alene tribe took over its operations from the Bureau of Indian Affairs, it took over the responsibility and the effort to expand those government operations. Once, there were only 3 people fully employed by the tribe. Today, there are over 1,300. The overall annual payroll exceeds $18 million.
Again, I have to go back in history because the Coeur d'Alene tribe wasn't poor. We lived in a beautiful land that was abundant in wildlife, took care of all our needs, all of our food, our clothing, our warmth, our homes we received from nature.
In a 15-year period, beginning in 1990, the tribe will have completed over $160 million in new construction. This is a gaming tribe, one of about 200 among some 560 federally recognized tribes in America. But unlike casinos in Atlantic City or Las Vegas, the profits here stay home, creating dramatic ripple effects and opportunities for investment and diversification. These things mean jobs for tribal members and non-Indians. These things mean educational opportunities that never before existed. These things mean support for thousands of jobs far beyond the boundaries of the reservation.
Just because everything that we do impacts all of our neighbors, not just the Indian people, but the community we live in. And there's a ripple effect. So it behooves me to sit down with that state senator, that state representative, with that congressional leader, and bring to the table our issues and our concerns. We're leadership, and if we don't talk to each other, if the only way that we can converse is in the courts, then we're doing a disservice to all of our constituencies.
And within the boundaries of the reservation, the tribe is relentless in its efforts to maintain a quality of life for those here. It is relentless because life exists in all things, as the Creator saw fit. Lake Coeur d'Alene, one of the inland Northwest's most valuable and fragile resources, is the heart of this ancient homeland. And the United States Supreme Court ruled in June of 2001 to uphold a lower court decision that the lake, at the very least the southern third of it, belongs to the tribe. It was not, in fact, subject to state ownership as a navigable waterway. Federal District Judge Edward Lodge had ruled a year previous not that the tribe simply owned the lake, but that it had always owned the lake, long before Idaho became a state. The ownership of Lake Coeur d'Alene means stewardship of it.
We have a lot of logging activity here. This is what this community is, basically a logging community, or ag country, just composed just as much problem, I guess, with the sediment runoff from the weather change, I guess, and the temperatures get elevated. That'd be a kind of a pollution for the fish. I'm sure there's some folks out there that aren't practicing proper septic principles, I guess. Try to make sure there's fish there for us along with the future generations to come. Basically to be a good stewardship for the community, not only the Indian community, but the surrounding community also. I mean, we all live here together.
The tribe invests millions of dollars toward water quality and habitat restoration, most notably for the natural populations of West Slope cutthroat trout and bull trout. With those dollars, comes the expertise of tribal employees committed to studying, protecting, and restoring these resources.
Go ahead.
I'll be down at Rocky Point Marina on boat patrol. This will be on a detail.
731, 1146.
Stewardship also comes with the responsibilities for law enforcement and public safety, not to mention public education. As the tribe works to make this place cleaner, it works equally hard to make it safer.
The sheriff and our chief of police cross-deputized us, as you know, just pretty much everybody works on their own. And like I said before, we work really well with Benoit County.
Where the tribe benefits, so does the general public. This is not just policy, it is a tradition. On the water and on the land, generations past are always remembered. They are sought out and held sacred in a blend of history, tradition, culture, and state-of-the-art technology.
Our modern tools, these here to these right here, where we first started out.
Cutting-edge technology and people to operate it make up the tribe's geographical information system. In this office, satellite views help mark historical, religious, and cultural sites in the region. The process includes archiving information and photography, which will help guarantee the names and faces of tribal members long gone are not forgotten.
Who knows, down the road 100 years from now, people will be able to grab a CD and bring this up and show the students what was done at the turn of the century.
The tribe's GIS has grown to become a national model for historical restoration and identifying ancient sites of worship and campsites. The tribe's language department will apply or reapply the traditional names to those places. Another national model is the tribe's Benoit Medical Center, where the tribe has both commitment and success in establishing health care in the remote areas of North Idaho's Benoit and Kootenai counties. Indians and non-Indians share these and all tribal facilities. In fact, facilities and their management here are national models not only for Indian health care, but also for rural health care. Every August 15th, the Coeur d'Alene tribe remembers the Black Robes, the Jesuit missionaries who ventured here and brought with them Christianity. Since 1842, when the Black Robes first arrived, August 15th has meant a pilgrimage and celebration of the Feast of the Assumption. It is a remembrance of the changes that came when the tribe embraced the church, but it also honors a tradition of deep religious belief that existed long, long before.
And that renewal of baptismal sign, peace of the Lord be with all of you.
This sacred and historic mission is returning to tribal ownership and control. The Catholic Church returned it in the summer of 2001, shortening a 150-year-old lease agreement that was to have extended 15 more years.
Anybody have anything you want to bring up?
This and all tribes are the preamble to the American experience. Government existed here long before there was a United States. Individual freedom existed here long before there was a Constitution. In fact, the ancestors of those here practiced democracy for thousands of years, perhaps inventing it.
Because this country has established itself the way it is because it respects almost the Indian values that we have, the right to govern ourselves and listening to everyone as we govern ourselves, the right to worship, to look at that higher power, the right of freedom of speech. We've always had that in Indian country, so it's really easy to become an American.
But this and all tribes are a truly American treasure. No other nation has evolved with Native peoples still surviving in self-governance, yet remaining loyal to and in support of the United States government.
So we're carrying out the vision of the leadership that we had in the past, and those great men and women had tremendous vision. I only hope that we can live up to their visions and their expectations.
Theirs is a treasure fiercely guarded, yet generously shared. One might ask how it and they survive. One might wonder why ancient and modern life could be so compatible. One might seek to understand why Coeur d'Alene Indians thrive again. The old ones might answer, because we are who we always were and who we will always be. Because this is where our Creator put us, and our roots here stretch to the very center of the earth.